Hello everyone, and welcome back to my second video on MySql. So within the database, as you remember that we created our database the last time, it's called inventory. So let me go back here. Click on databases, inventory. So now what we're going to talk about is we're going to click web admin. We're going to talk about how to create a table and so forth. So the first thing that you need to do is once you come in here, you want to choose databases. And one thing I want to let you guys know is the class is going to all see everyone's database, so that's not a problem. There's not everybody will have access to each one's database based off the users, but that's okay. I mean, you can easily basically get in everyone's database. So this is more or less for this is a good way for everyone to learn. So let's see here. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is choose your database. So I'm going to choose inventory. All right, so now what we're going to do is, in the lecture that I go over in class, I talk about how to create a table and so forth. This is good for memory. There's two ways of doing it within MySql. And it's the same thing in other databases too, if you're using Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server. I won't say Sybase or like a DB2. DB2 is more or less like a backend, or if you're using Hive, which is something that comes with Hadoop, you're utilizing all manual writing code in Unix. But these three ones, you have the ability to use a user interface or a way to code it the manual way. So I'm going to show you both ways. So the first way is we're going to go in, like I said, you want to make sure you choose the database. I'm going to choose SQL for SQL Server, well, SQL. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table. So this table itself that I'm going to create is just, I think it's something that we did in the lecture. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down in this little window here. So you see an option here that says create table. That's the automatic. That's the other way. But we're going to do it this way here. Let's type in. I'm going to do this in uppercase so that we can see it. I'm going to say create table. And I'm going to call it course. And now what we need to do is specify what fields that we're going to have. So we'll have one called subject code. And I'll give it a char for, which char means is the type of variable type. And for means it's going to be 4 spaces. So the code is probably going to be 4 spaces. But let's say the code is ENG for English. You're going to have, in the database field, you're going to have ENG space. So when you use chars, you're saying that the value is going to be up to 4. That's the max. It's always going to be 4. All right, so we'll say course number. That's going to be an INT for integer. We're going to do something called title. And we'll give it a var char, and we'll give it 50. Now, the var char is a little bit different. The var char means you can put up to 50. So let's say we only put 10 spaces in there. Then that means the other 40 in front of that, it won't make a difference. So let's say that you're doing a search on, hey, give me title that equals Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Okay, so if it's all one word, and it would find it because you're not looking. It won't have those extra spaces in there. Okay. So title var char, we will put number of credits, and that'll be an integer. We will have a constraint. Let's see, the constraint will be constraint greater than 1, check, and then we'll say num of credits greater than or equal to 1. So a constraint is, think of it as a not a theory, but think of it as a stop. So like a constraint is saying, hey, if it's greater than 1, check number of credits. A constraint is something that has to happen. Okay, it's something specific that you're looking for. And there's reasons that you have constraints on tables. Maybe that table only, say for example, you have an inventory that only allows the value of anywhere from $25,000 or more in that table. So let's say someone goes to, check something in and it's only 15,000. You could prevent that from being checked in because that table is only able to handle anything from 50,000 and over. So that's an example. Then we're going to set a primary key. And the primary key will be subject code and course number. And then you'll see that I'll have so it's kind of like, a little bit like Java, but instead of the squiggly marks, you use a left parentheses to start your code at the beginning, and a right parentheses ends it. So now we need to have let's see, we need to have two of them here. Or no, we actually have one. And now we need to do a semicolon at the end. Now this right here will create, if I run this and click OK, it should create my table. Click OK. There you go. So as you see here, it says your SQL has been executed successfully. It took 0 seconds. So now, if I go over here and click on course, guess what? I have a table already. So that is, and now there's a lot of options here that you could do. You could change your index. You could change some information here. You could drop. So if I click on change, it allows me to define it. So let's say I wanted to change the length here. You could do it. This is the automatic way. But I want to show you the manual way as well. Well, actually, I apologize. Let me go back. This is the automatic way of doing it. But there's other ways of altering it. I'm not going to really teach that in this class because that gets real specific. The alter way is you're getting into DBA functionality. But for this class, if you need to change it, it's probably best to just go in here for this. We're just kind of learning the basic of it for now. But I'm going to, as well, hit course. Another thing is I'm going to talk about how to insert data into it. So in this class, we're going to learn how to do it in Java, and we're going to learn how to do it in here. And you'll see something here called create PHP code. Now, if you're creating PHP, it shows you the syntax of how you would do it in PHP. So the $SQL is a variable that you use within PHP. And so, for example, like the whole pass I wrote is all in PHP. And it's using MySql, but we're doing without PHP, so we're not worried about that. You see this right here, explain SQL? This right here explains what's involved. It gives you like a design of what is your table. It also allows if you're using multiple tables and it's just large environment, it's very helpful. But I'm going to skip that for now. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you from the SQL end how to insert data, and then later on we'll show you how to do it from the Java side. All right, so there's an automatic way. The automatic way is you could just click insert and insert values, but we're not going to do that way. We're going to do the SQL way. So let's see here. We know the name of our table is called insert, so we definitely want to use that as our primary. You need to know what your table name is before you insert your values. So that's very important to know. Hey, what's the name of my table? What am I inserting, and so forth. So I'm going to type in insert, and I'm going to say the name of the name of the table. So it's called course. All right, and then I'm going to do a left parentheses. There's different ways of doing this. I'm going to do it this way, but this makes it easier for me. I'm going to put the name of the fields I'm using. So it's been very helpful if I would have remembered what the field names were. Let's see. Oh, okay, they're right here. Done. So let's do subject code, course number, title, and num of credits. Okay, and then you're going to have an open and close again, like this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use something called values. We're going to type in value. Oops, can't type. Values. And then same thing. You could do it this way. And I'm going to put my values with ticks. I'm going to do a tick here. So subject code. What was that? What value was that? I'm going to copy this for a second because I forget what that. Let me see what my structure was. Char. Let me open this up. Save it in here for now. While I'm thinking about what I have here, I have. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to code it in here for a second. So I know that my subject code is a char. So I'm going to put CIT1. Let's see here. We need a course number as an integer. I'm going to say ours is 130. Now you notice I didn't put a tick around that. I think I can do it without a tick since it's an integer. So just do it like that. Then title, we'll put in tick and we'll name of this will be Java programming. And then we need number of credits. So how many credits? We'll say 4. And let me end this here. And let me copy this. Go back over here to SQL. There we go. Alright, so now what that's supposed to do is I'm saying insert into course. These are my fields in my table called course. These are the values that I'm putting into that fields. So remember when you're doing insert, you have to be ensure that you're putting the values in the proper fields. So let's say that you put a character in an integer. It's just going to be the same thing as Java. It's a note. You can't do that. So what I'm going to do is I have to put a semicolon at the end here and hit go. And once again, it says one row inserted. So let's put some more values in here. Let's create more values. So let's do CIT2. Let's make that 135. Let's make this, since that's Java, it's actually called Android programming. And it's also 3 credits. So we'll keep the 4 credits. We'll hit OK. Added it. Alright, so now let's also do, we'll just call it CIT3. We'll call it 145. This is C programming. That's 4 credits. Now I'm going to be teaching a introduction of Python in the fall, so I don't know what course number that's going to be. So I'm just going to make one up and make it 146, and that is going to be Python. And hit OK. I don't know if this thing's keeping up with me. Alright, so you see that? That's actually, I'm happy I did that. So I had already put 146 in there, and I try to insert it again. It says duplicate entry, primary key. So it automatically knew that I had that value in there because we're using a primary key. And that's one of the reasons you want to have a primary key. You want to have that key so that it prevents duplicates. You don't want duplicates in your database at all. Alright, so let's query this information. So we know that this is from course. So I'm going to click on SQL again. And it automatically has this come up here. So I'm just going to say, you don't even have to have those ticks there. You can just say from course, and you can click OK. And, alright, I don't know what unknown table type. That's odd. Try this again. Alright, so let's do. I don't know why it's doing unknown table type. Being weird, but anyways, the code worked because it wouldn't have pulled up the values. So here's your values right here. You have CIT 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's course number 130, 35, 45, 46. So just remember that. So we're going to actually update one of these values. So we're going to update course number 145. We're going to call it something else. Okay, so we know it's course number we want to update. So we'll go back to SQL, and I'll come down here and I'll type in update course. We know that we want to set the course number, or I mean the title. So set, we'll type in set title equals. So So you're setting a new title. We'll call it, what can we call it? iOS development. Okay. Now you need to do a where clause. And we never really talk about where clauses. When you're typing something, when you're updating something and deleting something, you want to put where. Where specifies it. It's the adjective of SQL. So I'm going to say where course number equals 145. What that means is, like for example, let me show you, or I'll say where course number equals 145. So let me cut this out. Oh, geez. Let me cut it out. All right. Let me run this right here. It'll show me the course number equals 145. So it shows me that the value is C programming for 145. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to SQL, and I'm going to change that. So I'm gonna do an update statement. All right. So I'm doing a 145 here. I'm gonna hit go. And now it says I updated that field. So it says that you updated it. So now I'm going to do a SQL statement and say select all from course number, or course. And, oops, what to do. Anyways, let's do this. Select all from course where course number equals 145. This is better. I don't know why those are coming up there. All right, and look at that, iOS development. So that's what we're trying to do, is modify to iOS development. So at this point, we've talked about how to insert, how to create a table. How to create a table, insert, update. Let's see, I'm looking at the lecture that we went over. Create tables, select statements. We talked about that. Now we haven't talked about joining tables, and we haven't talked about delete. So let's talk about joining tables real quick. So we know, let me pull up all my code here real quick. All right, so we have this whole thing here with all these values here. So usually when you do a joining table, you're joining it to something that is specific, okay? So there's some type of value that you want to get from it. But there's also a value that they share. So in this case, we're going to make sure they share the course number, okay? And then in the other table, we'll create a new table. We'll do a course number, and let me write this down so I remember. So we want to make sure that we have course number, and let's say professor name. And let's say lecture hall. So what building? So maybe building. Okay, so that's what we'll have. We'll have course number, professor's name, and lecture hall or building. All right. So let me let's see. Course number is an integer. Okay. So let's go over to SQL. We're going to create a new table. Now I'm going to show you how to create a table automatically versus the manual way. So you click on Create Table, and you come up here and hit the table name. So we're going to call this, we'll say Course Detail. Now when you're creating a table, you can't do like this. You have to use underscore or all together. All right, so I'm going to say the first field is going to be course number. We're going to use an integer, so we don't have to put no values in there. The next thing is we're going to put professor name, and this one we want to choose bar chart. And we want to say, maybe we're going to allow for the full name, so we're going to give them about 50 characters. The other thing will be building number. So, or let's say building name. And the same thing with the fields. It has to be underscore or all. So building name will say bar chart, will also say 52. Okay? That's all we're going to do. Now you can put table comments down here as well. You can specify about your table. Say this table is about the professor and building info. And all you have to do is click save. And look at that. It also prints out the SQL syntax for you that you're going to be utilizing. So you could copy this stuff and save it in case you need to drop the table and create it again. Okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to put values in there the automatic way. So I'm going to go over to course detail. And we're going to insert. And so we have these functions here that we're not going to talk about, but we're going to put values in here. So what we're going to do is we know that one of our values is 145, I think, right? Let me maybe we change it to 146. So let me go back here. We have, let me write this down. We got 130, 145. I want to put one for everyone. 35 and 146. All right. So let's go back to course detail. And we want to insert. And we want to put a value in there. So we're going to say 130. We're going to say professor's name is Jeff Seaman. And the building name is, we'll say, North Campus. Okay? And I'm going to click. And it tells you down here, do you want to insert a row and ignore errors? You never want to ignore errors because that's going to be a problem. So just insert new row and click go. So now, it says that we insert. See, it does the same thing. It does all the stuff we wrote out automatically for us. So let's do it again. So let me go back for a second. All right. So now we're going to do 145. Jeff Seaman. And building number, we'll say South Campus. South Campus. And OK. And one more time, let's do one more. Let's say 146. We'll put Mike Sullivan. And we'll say West Campus. And click go. All right, great. So now let's go to our SQL. Select everything from course detail. And look at that. We have North Campus, South Campus, and West Campus. Now, we know that when we do course right here, we know that course has 4 values, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to link the tables, and we should only get 3 when we link them, okay? So let's say, let's do this. All right. Let's say that we want to select from here we want subject code. Say we want title, so we'll say a.title, and I'll explain what that A is for. From the name of the table, which is called course, we'll put A on here. The reason for putting A, you need to give it an alias, what that table means when you're using joins. There's other ways, but this is the easiest way of doing it. So you don't have to do A, you could say course if you want to, but I'm going to call it A. And when you're specifying the field from that table that you're going to use, you do A period and then that field. Okay. So now I'm going to say join another table, which is course detail, and I'm going to name it B. Now all we need to do is we need to join it on a ID that is the same in each table. So we know our course number is the same. So I'm going to say on A dot course number equals B dot course number. Those two are the same. And let's add some more fields there. All right, so we're going to say B dot professor's name and B dot what do we call it? Building? No idea. I deleted that query. Building name. Great. I just deleted that query. No big deal. I'll type it again. Let me type it over here and I can copy. So I'll say select. We need a dot title. We need b dot professor's name. Then we need b dot building name from course A, join course detail B on A dot course number equals B dot course number. That's it. First to get everything. So I'll copy that. Alright, now I'll hit OK. Look at that. It gives us our three values, North Campus, South Campus, and West Campus, because those are the only values that equal the same. So if I wanted to show you something, let's say I read, let's delete this. Alright, so let's say that we put A dot course number and ran it. Shows you what course numbers are there. Now, let's try something different here. Let's do. Alright, so I did something called a left join. Now, what we're doing with the join is when you do a join or an inner join, they mean the same. When you do a left join, it pulls all the values, even the ones that don't equal each other. So as you notice here, it pulled Android programming. You know why it pulled Android programming? Because we don't have a course ID that represents that. We don't have that course ID in our course detail table. It only exists in our course table. So if there's ever a time that you want to pull everything, and if you're doing some type of querying, you can use something called left join. Now there's other joins. There's left outer join, right outer join, your inner join, right join, your left join, and so forth. But this class is just to touch bases on some of the basic stuff. Okay. Now let's actually do some deleting stuff. So let's go into course and alright, so we know that we're going to delete that row right there. So you can come in here and delete it like this, the easy way. You can also edit a value here too. Look at this, you could just click the edit and change it. So if I want to call it programming number 2 and hit, okay, boom, like that, it changed it. If I want to delete it, it'll ask me, are you sure that you want to delete this? Now you notice here, it gives me this code, delete from inventory.course where, so you could copy this and throw it in SQL as well. So what I'm actually doing, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do course number equals 145. Alright, so I'm going to come in SQL. I'm going to say delete from course where course number equals 145. Just like that. They had extra code, I need all extra code. Boom. Now, if I come to SQL and run the course, guess what? 145 is gone. Just like that. So now, let's see, if I wanted to, let me create another table that doesn't mean nothing to me. So I'm going to create it and call dummy table. I'm going to have a name in there called name, or we'll call it row ID. And I'll have something in there. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's forget that. Yeah, let's call it name, and we'll give it a var of 50. That's it. I'm not worried about this one right here. We're just giving it something to go on. We want to insert some numbers in there. One, we'll say it's Jeffrey. That's it. Okay, so now if we go into SQL and we do dummy, it only has one value there. I don't care. One value. So now I'm going to show you how to do the truncate table. Truncate wipes everything out. So this is a very important thing you don't want to do and make a mistake on. Very, very scary, because then your data is gone. Truncate is a way to delete data quickly. And then so our table is called dummy. That's it. We say truncate table dummy, and it'll wipe everything out. So now if I go to dummy and run it, look at that, I have no values anymore. So you'll learn that delete is good if you want to delete something specific. But let's say that say you have 5 million rows. You hit delete. It's going to build up your transactional log. It's going to get big. It's going to cause problems. If you're going to do a clean delete, always do the truncate delete. Delete is good for, if you're deleting like 100 rows or something like that, or 1,000 rows. You don't want to delete all the million, then you got to do the delete. That's just the way it is. So we talked about how to create a table. We talked about insert, update, delete, and truncate. So this ends this session. Next session, we'll start talking about JDBC and how to link it up to Java. All right, thanks for listening. Have a good day.